Philadelphia. Well, it is another Sunday where you and I are going to watch Kenny Pickett, and I'm going to tell you why I feel better about this start than him coming in pretty much dead cold against the Commanders, a game in which I am still absolutely mad about, not because of the refs or anything else. It just what a blown opportunity to just chill out for a couple of weeks, and that's been kind of the MO since Jalen Hurts has taken over as QB. There's just been somewhere along in the season, he's either like taking a whomper on his knee, his leg, or he's just out a couple of games, and we're always going to be in this situation, right? So I feel very confident that the Eagles offense heading in with a full week of Kenny Pickett being like, okay, you're going to be the starter. We are going to make a game plan that is way more towards your strengths than, running duo to death in the middle of a game when your game plan is pretty much set. So I would anticipate that for sure happening. And it's the Cowboys who don't have a ton to play for. It doesn't mean that they are not going to give their best. I assume that's going to happen, but they have just as many injuries going. CeeDee Lamb's going to be out. So yes, this will be a victory. It might look just as painful as it did last week, except there'll be a W in the column. Okay? My only gripes are, and if you could just hear me out for a second, this is always why, though. All that being said, this is more long-term scope. None of any of the things I'm about to say really truly matter until next season or possibly the playoffs. But there's nothing you can do about it right now other than swapping out Tanner McKee and Kenny Pickett this year. That's it. But can I tell you why I always hated this move for Kenny Pickett? You cannot have a system-type quarterback that Kenny Pickett looks like he could be, because we still don't even know yet. He's 3 years into his career, and this would have been his third year as a starter, and I want you to hold on to that for a second, because that's all you've told me all offseason. He's cheap, and he's basically a starter. Okay, so when he is put into a game, why doesn't he look like one? You know what I mean? You can't go from like this guy is a 3-year starter to like actually now he's a backup because he played tag and now he's not QB1 anymore. Okay, he was QB1 9 months ago. He looks nothing like it, or he looks the exact same, and that's even more troubling because why on earth would you look at that? A quarterback that the Steelers desperately wanted to get rid of and then jump all over it with some pick swaps. You could just get somebody under $2 million to go into that position. You can have somebody truly fight for Tanner McKee. And I'm not sitting here saying that Tanner McKee is going to be 100% better or way better. I just know that he could have put up that same exact stat line. He could have put the Eagles offense in numerous 3rd and 6s, 3rd and 7s, 3rd and 8s, and done the same thing stat-wise and probably done a better job football-wise in terms of anticipatory throws, throwing the ball downfield, leading A.J. Brown against Lattimore, a million different things. And we're never going to see that now because of politics. That's why I'm mad. This whole trade was Howie Roseman or whoever loved Kenny Pickett to go in there and say, this is my guy. I know that he's got something more in there, and let's see it. And in his first debut, it was an absolute clunker. It looked like a guy that just came out of college. That is not what you want to see in a backup quarterback. And the other problem long-term that the Eagles will have, as long as Jalen Hurts is the quarterback, QB2, if you keep picking Kenny Pickett's who do need a system to be dropped into, you're going to have mixed results every single time. You and I both know that this offense is a three-headed monster between three different people. Kellen Moore, Nick Sirianni, Jeff Stoutland. And everyone is going to have an idea of what to do, of what makes Jalen Hurts the best quarterback. It doesn't necessarily make the same system where like, hey, wide receiver X is going to go here, wide receiver Y is going to go here, and that's our playbook. This is our system. Jalen Hurts is the system. So if you're bringing in a guy who's just got an average arm, average legs, average everything across the board, and there are no defenses that will actually respect his legs when you are running duo and RPO, and you just basically tell the defense, just signal on Saquon Barkley and make Kenny Pickett either beat you with his legs, which is laughable, or his arm, which is equally as laughable. So this QB2 in Philadelphia can't be a Kenny Pickett type. It has to be a guy you're still developing who's absurdly good at one thing, running, or the other, throwing. So to me, Tanner McKee is that. His mobility issues are probably way worse in terms of like Kenny Pickett could outrun him. No doubt about it. But in terms of his pocket movement, I actually think Tanner McKee is quite advanced at shuffling his pocket around. And when you have such an advanced pass blocking offensive line, I'm sorry, but like Tanner McKee looks like he could be that guy. So that's why I'm frustrated with the conversations around Kenny Pickett, because how can you keep telling me this was the right move if the insurance policy ain't worth it? I don't care if it's cheap, expensive, rookie, vet, whoever is QB2. If that person can't threaten a defense by doing either one of those things, they're not worth having here, because it's not as if you can go, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to run these particular plays out of our playbook. That's not what's happening in Philadelphia. We've had multiple now offensive coordinator changes. We've had Nick Sirianni get stripped of a lot of that stuff. And we have seen this year Jalen Hurts do completely different things than years past. So I think every year that we kind of get into this discussion of QB2, we never really land in the middle. Like, it is either this guy's cheap and it was worth doing, or this guy's way too expensive and it's not worth putting on the field. I'm just telling you, QB2 has to be reversed somehow. I'm not talking about a 2 QB system. I'm not talking about 2 guys on the field. But in terms of who this guy is, I'm a humongous proponent of drafting your next backup quarterback in rounds 2 through 5 every year if you don't have one. If you don't have one, that's what you need to be doing, because it's cheaper. It's the Jalen Hurts thing, to be honest with you. It's the same stuff I thought then. It's kind of a Green Bay Packers move, but if you don't have a solid QB2, or if you've been through like 2 or 3 years of development and it just doesn't work for you, you got to keep picking these guys to kind of have them in rotation, because what's the point of signing a Kenny Pickett if you're unfamiliar with like all of the guys on the offense? What's the point? What's the point? There's no system you're learning. You're just learning how to play quarterback in Philadelphia. That doesn't mean anything these days unless there's like a head coaching change. I don't see an offensive philosophy that doesn't revolve around Jalen Hurts. Do you? Now it's a little bit Saquon Barkley, and I am sure tomorrow that we are going to see a lot of fullback heavy Kenny Pickett under center, because that's what he needs to succeed here. Absolutely that. So all that said, if tomorrow running like strictly Kellen Moore's offense, and that does make sense for Kenny Pickett, I do see him having a pretty damn good game. But if that doesn't happen and you are sticking to the game plan because you, for whatever reason, you don't want to show opponents in the playoffs, you think you can just get away with your normal offense to go win this one, and you're probably right. Because like I said, I don't think Dallas is taking this one too seriously. But what do you think? I think this was a major mistake from the beginning. I also don't think it's that big of a deal for the next couple of games that we are looking at. It's just frustrating to me that all of this stuff that I don't think it can be poo-pooed when the guy that's supposed to go win you a game for 3.5 quarters, go play for 3.5 quarters and don't lose this football game. And Kenny Pickett did, because of his inability. And I think the coach's inability to adapt to like, all right, well, dude, if they're going to crash, we need to figure out something. And their best answer was chuck it deep, max protect, A.J. Brown one-on-one, which was fine, except it resulted in no touchdowns in quarters 2 through 4. So I'm excited to talk to you after the game. I will be down there tomorrow handing out beers at Philaticus's / Dylan's barbecue tailgate, which is always amazing. I'll leave that down in the description if you want to come join me. Birds win tomorrow. We probably don't talk much about anything else other than Saquon Barkley is 2 games away from breaking a record, which as a kid, it is crazy to think about Eric Dickerson's record coming down. And I know he made some comments just yesterday about being very honest about it too, which I very much appreciate, not wanting Saquon Barkley to break this record, and even mentioned, hey, if he's got to do it in 17 games, I did it in 16, and kind of throwing that stuff out there. It's like, yeah, you did it, but I've got you on games, so I did in less games. However, I understand that, and to me, when Eric Dickerson was playing, I mean, this dude had 404 carries one season. And he broke this record in particular, the rushing record, with 379 attempts, which isn't nothing. I mean, that's just a ton of running football. So, but Saquon Barkley right now is at 314 attempts as he sits there. So that's really what I'm looking at. Saquon Barkley's got 65 attempts, which is absurd. He's got, basically 32 tries a game and one extra one in there somewhere. And I think he's going to break this record, y'all. Because even if he turns in an okay game against the Cowboys and Micah Parsons wants to stop him, or, that's kind of what's happening here, no one on the Giants is going to be able to slow that man down. And I could definitely see 2 things happening, where Saquon is such a good teammate that he actually takes himself out of the game because they're kicking so much ass and like the record is the only thing. But I don't foresee that happening. What a staple and a statement this entire year, from what the Giants said on Hard Knocks to where we are about to finish the season, with not only the Philadelphia Eagles completely pantsing the New York Giants organization, but he is going to break an NFL record that fucking 8-year-old John would have laughed at you and said there is no way that record is ever coming down, because it was just a different time and era. Saquon Barkley has done something that Eric Dickerson needed 65 more attempts for. That's insane to me. That is how generational this man is. That's how special Saquon Barkley has been in his career, and especially for this Philadelphia Eagles team. And it is such like a metaphor for how much the Giants organization dimmed that specialness, made sure that, he's not that good. And not only is he in the MVP conversation, which if he breaks Eric Dickerson's record, there's been a multitude of people that said you have to vote for him then. You have to put in the MVP vote then. And I think we see that. To me, that has been the most special story I think we have ever seen. One of the most special stories we have ever seen in Philadelphia. I can't think of too many rival players where the Eagles have a history of that not really working out, between like taking any type of Cowboys player, which certainly hasn't worked out in the past, swapping Giants players hasn't worked out, and on and on. This has been not only working out, like it is, I don't think we'll ever remember Saquon Barkley as a Giant. That's how special this is. Much like people don't really remember or recognize Reggie White being a true Philadelphia Eagle outside of Philadelphia. They look at him like a Green Bay Packer. That's really the last time. This is a makeup for Reggie White, and he's gonna fucking lead us to a Super Bowl. You know that already. As long as Jalen Hurts isn't concussed somehow randomly, this team is going to the Super Bowl because of those two guys and how special they are. And I hope we are talking about that leading into the Giants game on Monday. This should be a simple one, and we will all celebrate this together because, man, as soon as these playoffs hit, we are going to kick everyone's ass. I'm just so sick of fucking all the talk around this team about they're not that good, and they end up keep winning. Even with our stupid-ass head coach fucking fighting with Zach Ertz in the middle of the field. Like, it just tells you how good this team is. I can't wait for the regular season to be over. I'm sure you can either. Go Birds. I'll talk to you next week.